Today, Hassan, you've joined us to talk to us about Mauritania, and I think Mauritania is, a remarkable country. It's in terms of, uh, population density, it's one of the smallest in the world. It's a huge, huge country, but population-wise, quite small. And you've kind of never qualified for the Africa Cup of Nations in all of your history, and then now you've qualified for back to back to back AFCONs, 2019, 2021, and now 2023. First of all, for you as a Mauritanian, how exciting is that now Mauritania is competing at Africa Cup of Nations when before, even 6-7 years ago, they'd never even been to one.
All right. So, at the beginning, I would like that it's something amazing, honestly, because you know that football now is one of the most important things in the world. Even people who aren't interested in football sometimes find themselves forced to watch some football games. So, it's not good when you see your national team out of competitions every time. So, we here in Mauritania used to support some teams like Egypt, like Senegal, and other teams. But actually, it was incredible that when our national team qualified for the African Cup of Nations. But now people here in Mauritania don't only care about qualification now. They want the national team to go further in the competition because it's the third time, so it's okay. So after the first time, it's okay. It became something as a habit. But now they look for something bigger. They wish that the national team is going to make, for example, to at least go to the second round or to be among the last uh, four best teams in the continent. We know it's difficult somehow, but that's what we wish.
And before we look at the upcoming Afcon, I want to take a look back at the history of the team because I kind of want to ask essentially how has the team been able to suddenly start qualifying for Cup of Nations? What has changed from prior to 2019 and 2017 to suddenly now you're qualifying. What has been the big change in the team or in the country?
All right. So honestly, we there's some change that comes with time. This is the reality. Also, it's about investment. In the past, there was no investment anymore. In all the governments that led the country didn't care about football anymore. Actually, there was no investment in football or something like that. But we can say something that since the ex-president of Mauritania, Mohamed Abdelaziz, came, there was a change. And also, we have to say something that the president of the FFP now, Ahmed Yahya, came with a big dream. Actually, he made it change. However, I can say something that we can get more and more. But um, I don't know what's happening because there are some people in the federation aren't doing good anymore. Uh, so it's all about money. Well, let's say something. Football now needs money. So when there is investment, when exactly players know that they will get big salaries, they'll get bonuses when they win something. This can make change. In the past, football wasn't something important anymore in Mauritania because there were no salaries. Even players don't get a plane. Even imagine they travel by bus or something. Imagine that they even didn't have enough. We can say material, no jerseys, no, yeah, a lot of bad things. So I think this is the point. So change came from here when there was investment in football, we got good results.
Yeah, and I think that's such a good example and I think even President Gianni Infantino singled out Mauritania as an example of a country who's used, FIFA funds. We saw the FIFA Forward report just came out, and one of the great examples is Mauritania, who you took the money, went and built a new 10,000 seater stadium, And now that even that stadium has been used for other nations, right? I think Burkina Faso had to play there for a match a couple of years ago, and it's a really good example that actually that slow investment, the infrastructure is building and it's actually making a difference. But it hasn't all been good, like you said. In the federation, you're saying that even as recently as a few days ago, there's still issues around the federation and certain individuals in it. Can you tell us a bit more about that? What's going on?
Yeah, yeah. Actually, the Federation of Mauritania is somehow doing something that's not good anymore because when there are some scandals, actually they try to hide that because we can say that the president is controlled by some members of the executive uh, bureau in the federation. So they always try to hide this kind of things because when we talk about, for example, the program or the funds that FIFA give Mauritania, it's more than 14 million US dollars. Just imagine, it's a big number in just 3 or 4 years. Not only that, about the money that is given by the Mauritanian government. So a lot of money. But the question, where did that money go to? This is the question that many people are asking. We're not going to speak about the infrastructure because honestly, the stadium is not that big that we talk about. It's not good stadium, by the way, and the pitch is so bad.
Really?
The pitch is so bad. Honestly, this is the reason why we win. I think Mauritania, no team in the world there is no team in the world that can defeat Mauritania when we play in the match because of only that stadium. This is a reality. These are some realities that we know about. It's Africa, actually, in a way. So football is just like a war. So you have to be intelligent and something like this. So it's a small stadium. It's You have to know that the capacity is only 8,000. Just imagine. It's not the biggest stadium. It's always sometimes I find myself surprised when I see FIFA talking about that big stadium and something. It's not eight. Imagine now we are in 2013. So, that eight is only like it should be a stadium for training, not a stadium for a national team of a country that has a lot of money, that a rich country and a country that is qualifying for the third time for the African Cup of Nations. So it's actually these are some of the scandals that are happening. So a lot of money is stolen. Money is actually taken to other things out of football. But if all the money is only used in the field of football, I think that we could even qualify for the World Cup, not only the
Mm.
African Cup of Nations.
Mm. And yeah, I think it's really important for you to push back on that when FIFA, for me, I don't know as much about the stadium, and so when I see FIFA saying this is great, it sounds great. So it's interesting that you're saying that actually it's not been used anyway. Well, but let's get away from the federation and focus it on this team, because for me the name that jumps out in this team actually isn't any of the players, but it's the coach, Amir Abdou, who obviously was the head coach of the Comoros for 8 years or so, took them to their first Africa Cup of Nations last tournament and did brilliantly, knocking out Ghana. Probably should have knocked out Cameroon if they actually had a goalkeeper and Jimmy Abdou wasn't sent off early on in the game. I'll let the conspiracy theorists take that one where they want. But it's also so unique because Amir Abdou is a head coach of a tiny, tiny nation in Comoros, island off in East Africa, and then he's suddenly hired to become the head coach of Mauritania. Is not a huge team, but it's certainly bigger than Comoros, and I think it's the first time in Africa Cup of Nations history where a fellow African has moved from a small country to a bigger one to coach them. How did that happen? How did Amir Abdou become the head coach? Because I know he got involved with Nodibu in the club side of things first, but tell me that story. What happened? How is Amir Abdou now the head coach? I think it's so interesting.
All right. So you have mentioned actually part of the answer when you said that he was the coach of Nwadibu. Actually, FC Nouadhibou is the biggest team here in Mauritania, and it's owned by it's just a small national team. It's a small national team actually, because most local players who play in the national team are from FC Nouadhibou. Even here, we have here something to say that if you want to be in the national team, you have to be in FC
In
Nouadhibou.
Nodibu.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. You have to be in FC Nouadhibou. It's like it's the road. It's your road to the national team. So when he was in FC Nouadhibou, when he was the head coach of FC Nouadhibou, everybody was actually saying that he's going to be the coach of Mauritania. It's normal because that time Mauritania, yeah, faced some problems with the ex coach Martinez. So because he didn't do well. By the way, he did a lot for Mauritania, and we have to be thankful for him for all things that have done for exactly that have been done for the national team. But it was the end. Honestly, we had exactly we reached the last point that we actually could because his last games weren't good anymore. So
Hmm.
the only name that was ready was Amir Abdul, and actually it's about money, and he gets actually a good salary here in Mauritania. So it was for him also a challenge because he knew the players, he was yeah, coaching FC Ouagadougou and most, as I told you, most players, and he knew the atmosphere here in Mauritania, everything and culture, a lot of things. So it was something normal for him to accept the yeah, coaching the national team of Mauritania, especially as you said that when it comes to history, the history of Mauritania in the is better than Comoros because Comoros is a small country. So, so it was something normal for me so that he accepts coaching Mauritanians.
And how was that received? Because obviously Mauritania, recently you've kind of only in the last decade only had French coaches, only had European French coaches. So how was it received by the public that they're moving away from having a European there? But not only that, they were taking someone from the Comoros. What was the kind of noise around that? How did people receive him?
Honestly, there's no big change because
Yeah.
uh, we had French coaches and now we have also by the way, he's French. He has
Yeah, I mean, he's born and raised in France. Yeah.
exactly, and he speaks French also. So there's no big change.
Hmm.
People accepted that because it was the same. Just
Hmm.
uh, yeah, he's French and he speaks French also, even if he's from Comoros, but he has the French nationality and he speaks French, and that's the point because most players here speak only French, so he can communicate with them easily. So it
Yeah,
was
and
something for the public.
And how do you think he's done since then? Because obviously I think he did really well at the Chan to get Mauritania to the quarterfinals. He qualified you for the AFCON, but it's not been the best year in 2023. Obviously, you had lost to DR Congo away, both in World Cup qualifying and AFCON qualifying, and then obviously you had that strange one where you drew with them at home, but because Karim Diaw was not properly registered, that then was awarded to Congo. So how do you think that Amir Abdou has done since taking charge of the national team?
All right. So honestly, I don't think that big change has happened so far because it's about the quality of play. We haven't yet reached that quality of play that we play football. It's in football, winning or losing is not something about progress because sometimes you're lucky, that you can win with a penalty or mistake or yes, it's about small details. But when you talk about the quality of play that exactly that we want, we haven't reached it yet because when you see the national team playing in many games you think that they are still amateurs because there is no control anymore. They are not organized well. So this is what people want. Yeah, sometimes when you lose, the audience leave and they are actually satisfied because they know that you play football.
Mm,
But when you exactly when you don't play football and you lose and or even win, so people don't see future because people now are looking for the future. It's not about now, but what about the future? Winning or losing in football is not something big anymore.
mm,
When you have a project, you have to have a quality of play first. You have to have quality of play. But I think not no big change has yet happened because I always actually attend the national team matches here in Mauritania and watch those who are away. But it's still the same. Honestly, it's still the same.
yeah,
No, two
it's
or
not.
three games were good, but the other games were just like this, especially last matches. Most people were actually annoyed and yeah, started criticizing him because of the last matches. He was
Yeah,
covered somehow because you have to attack. Defending all the time is not a solution. It's not going to be a solution to make you win games, especially when you play away. Our problem is still away matches because yeah, in workshop it's okay. We can say that, or we can guarantee that in workshop we can even beat Brazil. It's okay because we know yeah, we know our pitch and we know what should we do, and players know how to deal with it well. But what about away matches? That's one of our biggest actually problems.
challenges. Mm.
Exactly. The challenges are about playing away.
Mm. So we've spoken a little bit about the squad, but tell me about the squad because I think Mauritania will be one of the kind of more unknown nations in terms of the players coming into the tournament. Obviously, you have a number of players who play abroad in France, and a few other players. I mean, the biggest name is probably Abubakar Kamara, who obviously was at Fulham and has been playing in kind of Greece and now in the UAE. But who kind of are the standout players in this team? Who are the players that we should be looking at and kind of make up the core of this team, and or the players that are going to make things happen in the Afcon?
All right, I think that for me, Humaya Tanji is one of the players that is going to make something great. Also, Mohsin is not bad. He's one of the best in his exactly. So Mohsin is also excellent. Of course, there are some other players like Denay. Denay is one of the most important players for the team. Ali Abeid also is a very important player. Uh, Hassan Huibid is also another important player without actually forgetting Kamar, as you said. We we have good players comparing to the past or comparing to yeah neighbor countries or something. We have good players, but the problem how the coach is going to deal with them is the question
Mm,
about that. It's about the way that the coach is going to deal with them. However, our group is not easy anymore. When we talk about Algeria, when we talk about Burkina Faso, Angola, these are big teams, especially Algeria. You know, Algeria and what they can do, especially in such kind of competitions. So it's going. I think that the number one is exactly for Algeria, but what are we going to do with how? But these players, I think, if they believed in their abilities, if they played with their spirits and something, they can actually make something. Especially players
mm,
that I have named, Zalai, Mohsin Buddha, exactly. Yeah, Hassan Houibi, Ali Abeid, and of course Hamaya Tani, because Hamaya is the best attacker here in Mauritania. And the last games, he has scored actually many goals for the
mm-hmm.
national team.
Yeah, he's been in good form. Let's look at the group because obviously, like you said, Algeria, they had the bad Afcon last tournament, but they're still one of the biggest teams on the continent. I think they've only lost 5 games in 5 years. Jamal Bamadi, he's maybe not got quite the energy and the zest that he had a couple years ago, but he's still one of the best managers on the continent. But obviously, playing against them and playing against Burkina Faso, that in many ways that suits Mauritania, doesn't it? That kind of where you can defend, play on the counter attack, look to be kind of very physical against particularly Algeria. I think Burkina Faso maybe is slightly different. But then it's going to be that key game against Angola, right? Angola, who aren't at the peak of their powers. They've obviously got more history than Mauritania, but they're long gone are the 2006 vintage, 2010 vintage. This isn't a very strong Angola team. What are the expectations coming into the tournament for Mauritania? I know you're saying that people are, they're saying, okay, we've gotten the group stage twice, we have to get past it. But kind of realistically, what do you think is kind of, how far do you think this team is able to go in this group? Particularly thinking that first game is going to be against Burkina Faso.
Mm, there are wishes and there are expectations actually about which now we go further in the competition. But expectations, I think the last thing we can reach is the second round, and it's very hard. Honestly, it's very hard because, as you said, yeah, I don't talk only about teams. I talk about weather in Ivory Coast. Players
Mm.
exactly aren't adapted to actually play in such kind of weather. This is one of the most important points here in Africa. It's all about weather. So this is the point that I think it's going to be, well, one of our weaknesses. You see, so uh, for me, Algeria is going to be yeah the on the top of the group. But if Mauritania uh, won their first game, I think they will qualify. But it's all about the first game. The most important thing is about the first game because when you lose the first game, I think everything is going to be, or everything is going to go down. Everything is going to go
Yeah.
down because you'll come to other games with actually, yeah, uh, problems, we can say. Because
Mm.
how are you going to beat Algeria and beat Angola and you have lost your first game? Players aren't going to feel good anymore. It's going to be bad. I think we're not going to go further. I wish, but I think the last thing we can reach is the second round. And it's fun,
Mm.
very hard. Honestly, our group is very tough.
Yeah, it
Our
is a very tough group. But I do think what you say is so important, right? Is the fact that you play Burkina Faso first and not Algeria. Because obviously, if Algeria is the big one, that's the hard one. If you can get a draw against Burkina Faso and Angola lose to Algeria, then suddenly all you need to do is beat Angola, and you'll probably go through to the next round, even as a third place. So I think that first game is going to kind of make or break the tournament because you know
but,
whether you, and Burkina Faso aren't in a particularly strong moment either, and they've obviously have brilliant players, but I think there's a chance for Mauritania to get that, but that, like you said, that first game is so important.
yeah, for example, playing against Burkina Faso in Nouakchott and outside is not the same anymore. I tell you, I thought something that our problem is still playing away. You see that now when you actually take a look back at the results, Mauritania were, yeah, our national team is very bad when we play outside. When we play away, it's not good anymore. So this is one of the problems that we are suffering from, and we couldn't have a solution for. Not with the ex-coaches and not with this coach even. We still suffer from the same problem. It's not only the national team, even clubs, Mauritanian clubs, because now FC Ouagadougou, for example, as I told you, the biggest team here in Mauritania, they have played now 4 games. We lost 2 games outside. We got 4 points here in Nouakchott, but we lost our 2 games in away. So this is one of our biggest challenges to know how can we win and something else. How can we actually avoid losing in last minutes? We have a big problem with the last minutes. Always we come to the 9 minutes 0-0, but after that we get 3 or 4 goals in the last minutes. That's one of our biggest challenges. And Burkina Faso, I think, when they play in Ivory Coast, that's not going to be easy. It's not
Yeah,
going
and
to be.
and it will feel like an away game because obviously it's so close for Burkina Faso to be there. It's they're going to have thousands of fans. It's going to feel like you said, they're used to the climate. But yeah, no, I think it's interesting you bring up Nouadhibou because I think they're similar to Mauritania. They're kind of in a group of death in the CAF Champions League with like Sundowns, Mazembe. Who's the third? I think Pyramids. Yeah. So it's a tough group for them even in the Champions League. Hassan, thank you so much. We finish off our podcast, our recordings by asking our experts a series of quick fire questions. So I'm looking for short, sharp answers from you on these. So my first question is, coming into the tournament, who is Mauritania's most important player?
Oumaya Tanji.
Okay. Yep. I like it. Quick, short, and sharp. Unlike some of the others I've spoken to, they try and give me 5 answers. And who is going to be the youngster to watch in this Mauritania team?
Actually, I think we can watch Maxime Bouda. Maxime Bouda is very young and he can be watched. He's excellent, by the way.
What position does he play?
Midfielder.
Uh-huh. Okay, excellent. And then the hard one is, how far will Mauritania go at this tournament? What is your prediction?
Second round.
Second round. Okay. And who, if Mauritania makes it to the second round, who is going to win the 2023 AFCON?
I think Morocco.
Morocco. Okay. And who will be the top scorer in your opinion?
Very hard.
Huh?
It's a hard question.
That's a hard one.
No, it's a hard question actually. It's very hard to predict who's going to do the top stuff. I think Mane.
Sadio Mane. Okay. And then who will be the player of the tournament?
Who will be Mohamed Salah? I think
Mohamed Salah. Yeah. It's Mohamed Salah, Sadio Mane. One of them will get one of the awards. It always feels like that. They're both so talented, so good. Hassan, thank you so much for joining the On the Whistle podcast. It's been great hearing about the ups and the downs of Mauritania, and looking forward to seeing them in that opening game against Burkina Faso.
Inshallah. Thank you. Thank you for having me. I wish you a nice day.